So my dog, we sold our house because we've kind of been watching the real estate market. We're seeing a lot of slowdown, deterioration there. So my wife and I decided that probably a good time to sell our house and kind of reposition ourselves. So we're currently transitioning. We're living in an apartment. So our dog is trying to figure out this whole apartment. He's like, hey, when are we going back home? Right? This is all great, fine and dandy, but I'm ready to go back to my house. So when we leave, he kind of freaks out. I mean, he like starts panting and it just he just doesn't handle it well. And so every time we leave, he just completely kind of loses it. So I was online looking, and I found this stuff called Thunder Wonder. Have you heard about this?
Thunder Wonder.
Thunder Wonder. Have you heard about this?
Well, we have a Thunder jacket for our dog.
Well, no, this is called Thunder Wonder. It is basically a dog treat that is laced with melatonin and hemp. And it's supposed to calm them down. It's all natural, right?
Does it work on other members of the family?
Well, hold on, we haven't got to that story yet, right?
All right.
So these dog treats are laced with melatonin and hemp, and you're supposed to give them 2, and it's like to calm them down.
Yeah.
So last night we tried it out, right? So we gave the dog. We gave the dog 2 of these bites according to the directions,
Sure,
right? We didn't overdose him yet. The dog goes into completely comatose state at this point. I mean, he won't get out of his bed. He won't, normally if you say, hey, you want a treat? The dog just freaks out, right? He won't move for anything. And so he's completely passed out last night. He's sleeping great. I'm like, this stuff.
Stoned.
Yeah, this stuff is great. And this morning, the problem is this morning, my alarm goes off about 4, so we get up for the show. About 3:30, I feel the dog licking my face. He's over in the corner, got the shakes. He's jonesing for a hit at this point, So I'm not sure what's happened here, but he won't even eat his food. He just wants the treat now. So
you forgot to get the doggy Twinkies.
Exactly. So I have to get doggy Cheetos and have it ready for it. Actually, but no, all seriousness, this stuff works really well. I mean, it calms him right down. Yeah. So I'm not promoting the product, but I do have to worry about my kids because they were all reading the package. I said, is this stuff all natural? Can you eat this? Anyway, Thunder Wonder, get it for your dog. It's great.
That's right.
Right now in Davos, all the world's richest, this is really kind of funny, right? Because all the richest people in the world, they descend upon Davos once a year to talk about global warming and how they're going to save the world. It's basically the globalist convention of the world, and they all get together, and it's like Pinky and the Brain. And what they do is they plan on how to take over the world during this entire meeting in Davos. But it's interesting because they go there to talk about global warming, right? And what they're going to do and how they're going to save the planet from global warming and all this stuff that needs to happen. And of course, these guys are flying in on private jets. Then they bring in just thousands of limousines, and the citizens of Davos are ticked because they use public transportation. They're very green-minded in Davos. They take public transportation.
Well, these guys are leaving a carbon footprint the size of Vermont.
Exactly. Well, all the citizens can't get anywhere.
Right.
Right? Because the buses are blocked up because of all the limos that have clogged the streets of Davos. So they're like, would y'all get the hell out of here? So, quit screwing up our environment. But again, global warming, it's always kind of one of those debates. Up in the Northeast right now, they're suffering from negative 40 wind chill factors and all this. So, but that's part of it. Doesn't matter whether we're too hot or too cold. It's all part of global warming, climate change. So,
of course, yes,
yeah, absolutely. So we got it all fix it because we're all going to die, and it's always something. We're all going to die for something. Anyway, let's get into kind of what happened. Yesterday, markets were closed, so nothing's actually happened in the markets. And of course, as now we start to kind of look out into the week, we're still right in the midst of earnings season. And of course, corporate earnings right now flooding in. And really, it's not about the earnings that are important. Listen to what companies are saying. Because what companies are saying about the economy overall is not really all that great. Companies are missing earnings, but they're beating the estimates that have been grossly revised lower. And in fact, we've got an article on this on our website right now talking about, it's called Fundamentally Speaking, the estimates for corporations for 2019 are still too high. We started writing about this over a year ago, and in the past year, Estimates for the end of this year have already dropped by more than $17 a share, which is right on track to where we said they would be almost a year ago. And again, this is partly due to the fact that the economy is not growing as strongly as people thought it was going to grow, and it is not growing as fast as it's supposed to be growing right now. And the impact of tax cuts and legislation are great. Those definitely help the bottom line. But look at top line earnings, top line revenue growth is simply not really growing all that rapidly. And again, that's more of a reflection of what's happening in the actual economy versus what bottom line corporate earnings are saying after all these tax cuts and fiscal benefits that have been passed on. Of course, a tremendous amount of deficit spending. One thing we'll talk about later this morning is a little bit about the debt. But we've had a tremendous amount of deficit spending in the first quarter and two of 2018 because of the changes to basically the budget planning, et cetera, that allowed for basically unbridled spending by the government. That has really been kind of the boost and support for the economy in the short term, but that has more of a negative long-term effect. It's what we call a negative money multiplier. It doesn't really create economic growth. Government spending doesn't create organic economic growth. Organic economic growth comes from what you and I do as consumers, right? Us producing work, producing products, producing labor. That's what creates real economic growth. But the markets have been responding, as I said, over the course of the last couple of weeks because of that deep oversold condition we got back in late December. We're pushing back up into a lot of resistance right now. And as we talked about last week, this has been a real good opportunity to take a little bit of money off the table, rebalance risk in portfolios. This morning, futures are pointing lower. Over the weekend, the International Monetary Fund actually lowered global growth to about 3.5%. That's the lowest rate of growth in 3 years. Now, mind you, that the IMF has never predicted a global recession. They always predict very ebullient levels of economic growth, but even their always overly optimistic growth rates are still at the lowest level that they've been in 3 years. So again, when you take a look at what's happening internationally in terms of the economy, a lot weaker growth there. We'll come back. We're going to talk some more about this, get into our stories for the day, take your questions, comments, and phone calls as well. 281-558-5738 if you want to join the show, or swing by our website, LanceRobertsShow.com, or our YouTube channel, The Lance Roberts Show. Get all of our live podcasts, live video streams as well there, LanceRobertsShow.com. We'll be right back.
Want a longer talk with Lance about your money? Request a personal one-on-one at LanceRobertsShow.com.